All right, you're on.
Thank you. Love you. You want to turn this off or not?
Yeah, I'm going to in a second. I just want to check.
Yeah, take your time.
Okay.
All right, cool. When we think about business, we're not wrong. It isn't wrong in an absolute sense to look at it as solely the product or solely the surface. the surface. It is surface level, but it's not wrong. No, I meant to say service, the product or the service. And the interesting thing about that slip there of surface, psychological slip, is that the product or the service or what the organization provides to the marketplace is interesting in the sense that I think it's at the surface of it's the tip of the iceberg and represents whatever is at the bottom. There is a clear what we do, but it's tied with the why. That purpose of existence, in the sense that it's the purpose of the product or the service is going to be some type of alleviation for a customer, some solution, something worthy of exchange. And we can talk about that, and we'll explore that whether now or at other times, recurringly, of course. What I want to pinpoint is, and really I'm exploring this idea of the operating system. It's not just, most would think that a business is just the product or the service, and it is. And it also is the operating system that is the intermediary, that's the in-between of organization, customer, and that exchange of having a product, having a service available, and it being both perceived and actually able to be valuable or valuable for the customer. There's this in between. There's this how does it actually, how is it valuable? How does it become perceived to be valuable by the customer? And how does it continually become valuable as an organization innovates, as an organization evolves, as an organization adapts and responds and reacts and reflects the information that flows to it through competition, through being present in the marketplace. So it isn't that we're wrong for thinking that a business is solely, well, maybe solely, wrong for thinking a business is a product or service. It absolutely is a product or a service, but it's not only a product or a service. What's the operating system that is providing that product or service to the marketplace? And that operating system is going to evolve as more and more people and more infrastructure and more complexity gravitates towards and around and through what becomes an organization. Like, what is an organization? So I want to think through a bit, operating system, and of course highlight that in the sense I'm thinking like Peter Drucker. The purpose of a business is to create and keep a customer, something to that effect. How do you create a customer? Have something they perceive that is valuable and is valuable to the customer. How do you keep a customer? You continually innovate and evolve and develop a continuity between customers' perception and the reality of actuality, what they actually get and why it's valuable and how it serves them. And that's what I want to pinpoint today, that operating system, which becomes is underpinned by philosophy, by philosophical concepts of every organization, even if they're not written down, even if they're not spoken, even if they're not even known to exist or be there. That is, there's this middle piece. If like the product or service is the tip of the iceberg, it's like what we do and how it's perceived to be valuable. What's way below the surface, under the water, is the why, which may not be articulated, may not even be conscious or fully conceptualized. I don't think it is in the founding of a business often, like fully. And it doesn't necessarily need to be when it's intuitive and emotional and exciting, and people are inspired by the obvious value proposition of how something can be valuable to them, as well as the personality of the founder and founders of whatever the product or service are. But as an organization, and there's that operating philosophy and operating system always occurring, even if it isn't clear, codified, at scale, architected. It's there in the actions, in the reactions, in the responses, in the behaviors, in the habits, in the rituals of the founders, and the originating parties, both in customers and in support, third parties, investors, and so on, that comprise the organization, even before it's not considered an organization. And something that I've been obsessed over the last, for more than half my life. Oh wow, I'm getting older. Yeah, more than half my life is what exactly culture matters, or does it? And yeah, what's that journey of, and what is that journey? And how does the spirit of an organization, you can taste it. It's there. It's just there. And it's even hard to articulate in words. And then one moment it's there and the next moment it's gone. Is it because the organization went from 49 employees to 50? Is it that the founder has been replaced by another human being who's different and is unable to live up to the expectations that have been set both explicitly and implicitly by the founder? Is it that the case is that they actually are able to live up but actually beyond explicitly or implicitly of the founder, and it's just that the people, a part of the current organization, are misaligned with their character, their skills, their capabilities, and will over time be replaced by others? But now the question is, what is the cost to the customer of that process of change? What is the cost to the customer? How does that positively or negatively or neutrally impact the quality of the product, the feedback loops between the customer and the organization, the past customers, or the perception of the current customer, past customers and the organization, or the potential customers and the organization? Has the organization improved in one sense where the new people that could be customers perceive the organization as more valuable, while in reality the quality of the proposition is actually lesser than it once was? But that doesn't even make a difference in the universe because it's still pretty good and all the old customers are gone and the old staff are gone, and now it's a new world. It's new customers, new staff, and no one knows the difference. No one knows what it once was. And can that be the case while actually, for a period of time until the organization evolves again, sheds even more layers, and now those that are new that had the character and maybe didn't yet fully have or had the skill, but didn't, that needed time to integrate into the organization, for their capabilities to come to full actuality, full expression, full real-time significance as they related to the customer journey and to how they would show up in the institution. How do organizations become corrupt, bureaucratic, slow down, break down trust, or break down in respect to how the people that work for and with them trust the organizations? Why does that happen? What are ways of either stopping it or responding to it proactively to lessen that sludge? It's like we have, was it the Romans that invented the systems where there would be sewers, there would be some type of irrigation, not irrigation, what is the word? It's the essentially toilets existing in a household with the pipes that would then bring the sewage to an underground system where it could be essentially filtered away from the household. Think about the value proposition of taking actual human excrement. This totally has to do with the management and organization and where I want to go today with the operating system. There's a toilet in a household. Before that, there's all the excrement is staying in the property, or or as close to as possible. That then has created all sorts of symptoms that individual is going to have to react to. How about the quality of life? Like the smell itself of human excrement staying within proximity of that household. Oh, aqueducts was the word I was trying to think of. Aqueducts, like sewer systems. I think the Romans, I might be wrong about this, they created this. But how could that impact a civilization, a society, an organization to lessen the BS, lessen the shit, the slowdown of communication? Human excrement is like human dialogue when it's focused on the wrong aim, which I'm going to talk about that, the vision, the operating system, right? The who, the what, the how, the why. When that soup is not aligned and then realigned and attention to it, constantly, inevitably, the systems break down and the people start talking shit. It goes into the human condition, the parts of our personhood that are more resentful and deconstructive and unfocused on the other, but reactive and responding to that breakdown of alignment, of meaning, of conscience, and so just like back in time when a household had to go to the bathroom at some point, and then that human excrement was stuck or closer to that individual's property or that family unit, more responsibility is going to fall on them, the ability to respond to that shit, to that toxicity, taking them away from their aim, what they need to do, that constant reminder implicitly of why it's important, the practice, the repetition that develops the skills, that hones from effort, from time spent, from quantity of time on task that ultimately makes the quality of task better, that impacts the character of the individual. This go back to that character piece, because under values, right, we think in virtues, we think in talents, but in between is skills, character, and capability. Skills is like what an individual knows how to do and can do and is willing to do, and the organization impacts that of what they know and how relevant it is today versus yesterday, and what they would need to know in the future. And are they willing to? Are they bought in or are they not bought in? Which goes back to this excrement piece. Their actual capacity. Are they in the position that brings out the best of their innate capacities and the skills they actually know? Are they in a position that they're loyal to because they're loyal to the organization? And they need, they have their own responsibilities interpersonally that they have to keep the job, and so they'll be, quietly in desperation, but they'll do just enough that how the organization isn't necessarily getting the highest return on energy and investment in the system. It's not just the capital flows, it's the energy flows of, are people bought in? Why are they bought in? Do they know what they're doing and why it matters, and how that impacts how they show up and relate in the organization? Well, at one time, households in a community that was growing and growing and growing fast. The more people, the more it becomes transactional, and the less relational, implicit in the fact that you can't even remember everybody's name and know everybody that's your neighbor. If the city is growing and growing and growing, imagine all that shit piling up, all that excrement, human excrement, all that poop, all that urine, all that toxicity that is just gonna be there. It's part of the human condition biologically to cleanse the human body, to go to the bathroom. The organization of the city, innovation, technology led to a system where a toilet could flush that excrement into a sewer system and get cleansed outside of the home, when that would lead the individuals in that home implicitly, even like they would never fully comprehend this in their lifetime. We could look back and study it. Change how they operated in a system, how they showed up, what they did and didn't do, right? What they could do now is influenced by what they don't have to do any longer. If they used to have to take a shovel and shovel that somewhere, and maybe they had to put it somewhere on the property, you have enough, or wherever, you have enough urine and excrement that builds up over time. There could be all sorts of symptoms from that potentially take them away from productivity and impact, obviously, their purpose in society, which is going to change based on that innovation that now is going to alter what they do with their time and what they don't do with their time and how they show up in the organization. Well, and from a metaphorical standpoint, in an organization, when the aim isn't clear and reevaluated, so like vision, it's not a thing that is done and you forget it. And that's where organizations can miss the mark, or how they work with third parties to help them clarify their vision and their aims. It's done once and it's forgotten. It's learning how to clarify it, codify it, communicate it, and destroy it and reinvent it. A process of thinking in vision, like, where are we going? Why there? Leads to that how and what it means to us, and how does it connect us with our mission, like the purpose of the organization. Well, we do this or we do that, and here's why we do it and why it matters, and we all are serving that. We're serving ourselves. We're being, this ties into the other pieces of, I'll get into it, but the incentives and responsibilities and accountability and the distinction between the two, and are people hired? Who has been hired and why? And are they capable and willing? Were they capable and willing from the beginning? And then it was the organization that didn't live up to the unspoken or spoken expectations, and now it's going to lose them. They won't be retained. Or it didn't live up, but it also didn't model accountability, and now they're the ones that haven't kept up to learning and development, and are solely loyal but unwilling to learn more or to get better, and they need to be let go. So the accountability, because they haven't been as responsible, or some hybrid of the two. The point is that the vision piece, so aim, vision, is more so a process that reflects the operating system of the business and reveals the culture, the spirit, the alignment of what's highest or what's most important, that guides, that shapes, that molds the organization, that lifts up the people and brings them closer to their potential, has a relationship with values. So the personal qualities or the character of who's hired to the organization, that they're attracted to the organization and retained, is so fundamental to an organization's development. But so much happens in between of that. So the operating system is understanding these elements of aim, of values, like the values of the people, their character, their skills, their potential or their capacity. So skills would be what they actually are capable of doing now. Capacity or capability rather. Capacity and capability could be used interchangeably in that sense. It's potential, their potential, and how can the organization tap into that potential. Then there's also knowledge, how the organization filters knowledge from customers, from competitors, from the marketplace, through itself, and that knowledge flows through the organization, through every level of hierarchy, constructively, where it becomes almost like refined. It's being synthesized. It's moving from knowing to being. It's from concept to behavior, habit, ritual, and ultimately that raises the capacity, or unleashes the capability and raises the consciousness, or we might say, or increases the skill and personal meaning of the people within the organization. And of course, decision rights, you look in this respect to responsibilities, clarity around roles, like knowing, all right, this is my job, this is the title that reflects what I'm responsible for. I've got to live up to that. This is why it matters. Now the results, based on the description of what I'm supposed to do and why it's relevant, my peers will hold me accountable if they are bought in and feel safe and are doing what they need to be doing. They're sacrificing. They're pulling that oar. I need to be pulling my oar. That the people will actually hold me accountable. And if they don't, for whatever reason, the organization must. And so, like, who is holding me accountable outside of my own conscience? Well, I have the ability to respond within my own character, within my own skill set, within my own capacities, of course. But the system is influencing how responsible I am, whether the system even knows it or not. And that goes into this whole topic today about operating system. The purpose of an organization may be to create and keep a customer, but how it does that is it has an operating system that is either, that is clear or unclear at varying degrees. My role is to clarify it, is to codify it, is to architect it, so that the actual, what actually occurs in the organization reflects the culture that is best suited to why the organization exists, what it does, and how it creates value and evolves to develop continual value. And of course, so incentives play a role in this. There are the different types of incentives, because I would say incentive isn't just pay. You could pay someone right out of the organization. It's clarifying clarifying the financial incentive around the behaviors and habits and rituals that best suit both ultimately the customer, the organization, the individual, in a congruent fashion. Well, how do we clarify the incentives that are and it's not just financial, the recognition, the rituals that create camaraderie and so on. How do we clarify those incentives if we don't go back to the aim, back to the vision, back to the mission? And if we haven't thought through what we are, which has a relationship with where we want to go, where we've come from, why we exist, how we think we can act on those goals, that in essence the vision and understanding purpose leads to the clarity of mission and the revealing of the strategy or strategies we want to act on. It will be harder then to clarify, to even know who we're looking for, why them, what character or personal qualities, what skills or skill levels, what capacities, and of course, in the absence of that clarity, why does it matter what knowledge we need or don't need, or how we can educate or evolve the people if we're not even doing that ourselves at the highest leadership level? Then we're not doing those things. We likely won't be paying attention enough to figure out how to do it for the organization, which then makes, well, of course the incentives are going to be misaligned. You have somebody that's unwittingly disengaged from their organization. They're just going to try to overpay people to do things they either don't want to do or don't understand. That goes right back to putting too much shit on them. Mental, cognitive, productive excrement that clogs their household, that clogs their system, that clogs their spirit, and doesn't alleviate these basic human needs that ultimately can increase their productivity as a consequence of their purpose being more aligned with the organization, which inevitably leads to the communication, the creativity, the concrete behaviors that lead to value for the customers, productivity, profit, and continually develop the organization. It's about the operating system reflects the culture. The culture of the operating system, they relate back to one another. And they have to constantly be discussed and thought through while sacrifices occur, while labor happens, while everybody's working. Yeah, that's enough for today.